Today's webinar is part of a series of webinars being run on behalf of a project which we're running with Northamptonshire Enterprise Partnership, a supply chain mentoring program for the high-performance technology sector, both in Northamptonshire and the surrounding counties. The aim of that is to share experience and knowledge from within the industry with other companies within the supply chains in the industry so that we can help improve performance through good practice sharing. I'm delighted to say to have Jason with me. Jason I've worked with for the past 3 years. Jason started off at Martin 14 years ago, operative, and has risen through the ranks in the last 14 years to become the most senior manager in the organisation. And they've, as I'm sure you'll see in a few moments' time, undertaken some fantastic activities and really improved their performance continually over the last 3 years and made some really significant improvements. So I'll welcome Jason in a few moments' time. Just in the first case, though, I want to make sure that we are all okay with what's happening on this webinar, because I don't know how many other people have participated in these before. We will talk for about half an hour. There will be opportunity for questions at the end. What anyone can do to ask a question is, if you see the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a chat box, and anyone can type in there at any stage with a question or a comment, and we'll look to answer those at the end of the session. So that's the way that it will work. We should be done round about about 22 quarter to 3, and as I say, I want to really introduce you now to Jason, who's got a spectacular story to tell. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoy the session.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us in the case study that I'm going to present, which is improving business performance. I would like to introduce you firstly to our company, which is Martin Manufacturing UK. We're located in Louth, Lincolnshire, and we predominantly manufacture special effects equipment for the entertainment and security industries. We've been established for 30 years, and we started as a small local company in Spilsby. From then, we was acquired in '96 by a company called Martin Professional, which is a Danish outfit. They manufacture intelligent lighting systems, and subsequently they carried on the Gem name as a brand. So hopefully, you can see from the pictures, we have a varied product range from atmospheric effects to security smoke products that are installed in places like Carphone Warehouse, Esso garages, and Barclays banks. What you can see in front of you is a little bit of our timeline, our history. We decided to make this evolution wall as part of the 30-year anniversary last year, where you can see some key milestones on the bottom and also all our product development. So as a company, we research, develop, manufacture and sell the special effect equipment that I've mentioned. And we have some real core competencies. First one is our foundry and the heat exchanger department, where we make the gravity die cast heat exchangers. We also have an in-house fluid production, along with final test, assembly, sub-assembly and printed circuit boards. Lastly, in 2009, we diversified and we entered the service arena, where we've started providing 24-hour support around the world, predominantly in the UK, but also the EMEA region. And we've been able to grow the service department from a 1-person to a 7-man operation. And that's also contributed to the results that we're going to see. Now, I know you're all interested, and the reason for you joining is to hear about how we have improved our business. So I just want to explain where we are now. Last year, 2014, was our greatest year ever, and we achieved over a 5 million turnover. From the graphical data that you can see and it was 11% growth from 2013. We've mainly had this increased customer focus, increased customer intimacy, attaining new business through OEM customers and new product development. More importantly for us, we've been able to turn the performance of our profitability around from what you can see in 2008, 2009, 2010 were very, very poor years. Last year we had an increase of 45% of our best year ever. And now I'm going to explain hopefully some of the key reasons why we was able to turn this company's performance around. As the saying goes, a goal without a plan is just a wish. As part of the turnaround that we've been able to create is by coming up with a vision for our company. Of the turnaround was to make this. So what we period of 6 months work with the senior management team, but also the entire organisation in setting a key vision and mission of where we want to be in the future. So we actually had several drafts, and the whole organisation of 50 people were included in creating this vision. And our vision was to be the first choice and professional choice in smoke solutions. And we was going to do this by providing quality solutions, innovative solutions, by keeping the customer at the forefront of all we do. What you can hopefully see there is we set an objective up, and the objective was to grow the company from 4 million to 6.6 million. Key strategic drivers. The first one is operational excellence. The second is a simple and agile supply chain. Thirdly is get it right first time. Fourth, customer value, and then cutting edge. So I'm going to walk through each of those strategic drivers. From those strategic drivers, you can see that we identified some focus areas. So if we take the top strategic driver, operational excellence, there's 5 key focus areas which we decided we needed to look at. Each of those focus areas has 5 tangible actions that people were given responsibility for. So at the end of this process, we had a very comprehensive blueprint of activities that we needed to do over the coming period to reach our objectives. Initially, this was seen as a huge undertaking, but we took a full day out to actually explain and include our entire workforce in this strategy. And what that meant is this changed from being a poster in our organisation to actually a blueprint of activities of what we needed to do. In the bottom left-hand side, you can see I added an employee pledge. And at the end of the presentation of this strategy, each and every employee signed their commitment to this strategic plan, which was named. The biggest thing that I've seen over the years of working for several other general managers is that strategies come and go, so do directions. So the key thing for me was to implement this strategic plan and measure the deployment of this plan. So what you can see is the current status of our strategic deployment. And actually we have a quarterly meeting where we sit down with all the management team and we review where are we in the journey of strategic deployment. As you can see at the moment, 49% of the 125 actions have been fully implemented. 46% of those are in progress, with 5% not yet implemented. So obviously what we can see is the areas where we're performing well and it's fully implemented get a green. Those areas that maybe are anchored in certain departments but not all departments will be in progress, and those actions that have not yet been put in progress obviously are still at a not implemented state. So really one of the key things is actually not just having a glossy poster on the wall, it's about having a living, breathing strategy. And this is actually the 4th edition of this strategy, because as with the business of the strategic aims was operational excellence, and that was really all tailored around a continuous improvement journey. In 2009, we started what I would call a lean journey, and we created awareness of the need for constantly changing, improving, and evaluating our systems. So that laid a good foundation for localized improvement. So we had pockets of the organization that really embraced the change and would look at their really take the initiative to had challenges. Those people that had the attitude that we've always done things this way, so why do we need to change? But eventually we had a site-wide improvement, and that was through taking the time out to educate, train, and inform the entire workforce. So again, just after the strategic deployment sessions, we took an away day from work. We rented a facility that accommodated the whole of the 50 people, and we trained them in continuous improvement systems. We educated them in the PDCA cycle, and we basically improved their awareness of why this was required, and that was based on making their lives easier, making their jobs easier, and also securing our business for the future. That eventually led to a value chain optimization, where we included our whole supply chain in this development journey. But I'm going to actually allude to that a little bit later. Of continuous improvement, where everybody within that organization is responsible for improving their day-to-day processes. But after we've done the awareness day, it came to actually making this happen. And this has been one of the biggest challenges as general manager of that organization. Hopefully you can see the slide there, and that was very much of how we were as an organization. We knew we wanted to improve. But we found it incredibly difficult to find the time to improve because we was too busy. We was too busy firefighting. We was too busy looking at daily activities. So the first thing that we had to do was make continuous improvement accessible and easy. And one of the ways that we did that was to simply put whiteboards up in each area, and gave everybody the opportunity to submit continuous improvement suggestions on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and we measured those. Hopefully what you can also see on the next slide is that we educated people in this improvement pyramid, where we was looking at our process effectiveness and efficiency through the KPI and performance measurement system. We was measuring customer satisfaction. We was doing some benchmarking activities to guide our area to see best practice and share knowledge. And ultimately that led us to do some improvement projects, large and small. We had two types of improvements. We had what we call the Just Do It's, and we also have the PDCAs, which, as I mentioned, are the Plan, Do, Check, Act. So far, since the full implementation, which is July last year, we've had 158 continuous improvement suggestions submitted from our employees on these whiteboards. And I'm happy to say 96 of those improvements have been implemented. But again, this takes me back to one of the key challenges, which is setting up the time, setting the time aside to be able to do these improvements. And what we have is a improvement cycle where people are given the time to look at their areas and what I call their sphere of influence. They have 10 minutes a day. Now, traditionally, they've taken 10 minutes to empty the bins and sweep up. Now we're asking them to do more. We're asking them to look at how their day's been, how that week's been, and there's areas of frustration. They can put that into a constructive criticism or a constructive improvement and add that to the CI board. If there's things that aren't working correctly, and again, it's causing them inefficiencies, they can add this to the improvement board. And what we're trying to do is get away from a culture of blaming and moaning to a culture of saying, okay, there's been an issue, something's not worked properly, that have been submitted. Our previous system was a suggestions box, and actually nothing really materialized from that. But by educating the people that they can change their workplace for the better, it's enabled them to come forward with more suggestions than I ever anticipated. And that therefore has led to us having the problem that we've had 96 improvements that give us generally bottom line improvements that will relate to one of the QCD measurements, quality, cost or delivery, and in turn has helped us improve our out. So the £5 million turnover, I strongly believe, is achieved by people improving their daily processes and efficiencies by making their life a lot easier. And that's a real strong selling point to get people on board. The next part of the operational excellence, as well as the continuous improvement journey, is giving people the skills to be able to tackle them CI suggestions, but to be able to do their jobs more efficiently. I'm happy to say that we actually were recognised for our investment in skills at the Semta Skills Awards. So we thank you to Malcolm. We've been recognised at a national level for the investment in skills, and that is through professional qualifications, on-the-job training, MVQs, apprenticeships and traineeships. So we've taken those few key individuals, those ones that was identified as being the talented individuals within the organisation. The new approach is to do a holistic approach to training and say everybody has training needs, whether that is from basic numeracy and maths or English or ITC. So we've done a wave of MVQs to upskill the confidence of those employees that lack some of the basic skills. We've also done apprenticeships in the more advanced areas, such as our foundry, the electronics engineering. We've also given people the professional qualifications and skills. 70% of our management team have actually been promoted to organisation. Often what I see is that they're given a promotion, their skills or training to be able to do their jobs efficiently and effectively. So actually, we've been able to utilise all these upskilling opportunities which are currently abundant. And there's actually a lot of support out there from organisations such as Semta and people on board using Malcolm's expertise to actually network with a lot of training providers, organisations. We've been able to truly invest in our core asset, which are the people. And in turn, that's made my life a lot easier because they've actually felt that they're on board with this journey. They're getting personal development, so therefore it's a win-win situation for both the company and the individual. So really that's the first pillar of our strategic plan. The second pillar is what we called a simple and source most of our supply chain. So my predecessors were in 2009 and 10 sending everything to China, which from a bill of materials aspect looked the right thing to do because piece price was very, very attractive. However, there was a lot of hidden cost involved in going to the Far East, and actually we had significant headaches through poor quality. We had additional costs through freight, and actually what we decided to do was actually bring that supply chain back locally, wherever we can today, but locally to us also meant Europe. So we've actually had huge cost savings, over 100k cost saving just on freight. And what we've actually done is simplify the supply chain so we can meet the ongoing demands and more complex demands from our customers. So we've reduced our lead times, we've lowered our net working capital, and in turn we've reduced our investment costs because no longer do we have to go fixed tooled, and that is saving us £250,000 to £300,000 a year by going local. So all our mechanical supplies, our EMS supplies are all now coming from the local region. So the last thing that we did was a supply development day where we actually we plotted our 132 suppliers of this constraints matrix, where we identified who are our strategic suppliers, who are basically our bottleneck items, niche suppliers with a limited source of supply, and also our leverage items where we could utilize our purchasing power, and the non-critical items. And we actually invited some of our strategic suppliers and our bottleneck suppliers into our organisation and spent a day with them, educating, training, and communicating to them the journey that we're on, and actually making them aware of such a vital part they play in enabling us to achieve the results that we have done over the last few years. And actually, I was quite sceptical about doing this. I thought they was going to enter our organisation with the same scepticism. I think they thought, what's in it for them? What are they trying to sell us? Are they going to negotiate better prices or better supply agreements? And actually, that wasn't the case. What I wanted to do was share some of the tools, some of the techniques, share best practices. They understand our business needs a lot better, and in actual fact, they've also taken us up on some opportunities to link with the likes of Semta, with the business growth service, and they've been able to access the support that I've been able to access over the last 2 or 3 years, which can hopefully kickstart their improvement journey on a similar level to what ours has been. And out of one of the two key areas, I think actually the upskilling of the organisation and bringing the supply chain on board with what we do have been the most foundation, the most fundamental things in achieving those performances that we've just looked at. The third part of our strategic aims was to get it right first time. Now, that's a bit of a cliche saying, but quality really is the thing that differentiates us between our competition. So they pay a premium price for UK manufacturing. So we always have to ensure that the quality of our product is 100%. And again, some people may have a view that ISO 9001 is somewhat of a dated system. However, I think the framework is such a good frame to build upon. Build not only a quality management system, but a continuous improvement system. Our management systems for health and safety, quality, the environment are all laid down using the ISO framework. And I think it's a very powerful tool to drive companies' performance. So we've actually got quite a mature system. We've been ISO certified for 12 years, but we're still learning new things. We're still using that system to drive improvements, identify waste, identify non-conformance, and actually use that as a good area where we identify where we need to put additional focus. Where do we need to spend some time? So a lot of the continuous improvement projects are also underpinned by what we're finding through the QMS. So I would use them, even if you don't want to pay for the certification, then you can use this model as a simplistic model to drive business improvement. Our fourth pillar is customer value. And what we've been able to do is spend some time with the customers, actually hearing what the customer wants to pay for. I actually use customer value as also an engagement tool for the workforce. So whenever there's a good case story of an application of where our products have gone or been used, I use this case story so they take ownership and pride in what they're doing. We also active in giving our employees as much feedback, whether that's negative or positive, because we can use the customer's voice to, again, improve our processes, improve our procedures, drive the business forward. I think historically we've maybe not done this enough, and I think making the gap between the very R&D team of 3 engineers, which is only a small team, but the only way we can stay ahead of the competition is through constant innovation. And we often use incremental innovation rather than disruptive innovation, where we're just, again, making incremental improvements to our products and services. One thing we've done over the last 2 to 3 years is we've gained leverage through using experts in various fields, not only in our industry, but outside. And we've accessed a lot of resources through partnerships with local universities. So we've been working with Lincoln and Hull University. We've got 3 projects ongoing at the moment which relate to innovation, one chemistry, one with product design, and one with engineering. So we're actually tapping into a lot of resources that usually I wouldn't be able to do. And actually having a different set of eyes looking at the engineering challenges have thrown inspiration and ideas for my current team. Where usually if we've targeted for speed to market, for example, we're constantly focusing just on getting that product to market. But by using alternative resources, we've been able to look at aspects of technology that we wouldn't usually do. So usually we would use thermal devices to create the effect, but we're now looking at using compressed air, which is something that we would have never have dreamt of doing. So one of the key messages there is actually access all expertise and resources in any way that you possibly can. But what I'd like to do, because I'm very conscious of your time, is to try and summarize what I've just said in 10 key points. So first, what we mentioned was create a plan, create a vision. Not just a vision that you have displayed in the entrance of your organization, but a plan and vision that's constantly communicated throughout the organization. We have a monthly information meeting where we constantly communicate how are we doing on this journey. We have a weekly report that goes out from the operations point of view of how are we doing on this journey. So constantly I am reiterating what our strategic plans are, what our aims are, and where are we on this journey. Management and leaders within your organizations, you really need to take that time out. I try and allocate a day, 1 day a week, to be working more strategically. And often that means taking yourself outside of the organization, putting yourself in a place where you can take the time to think strategically and actually support your middle management team to move forward with those strategic objectives. Also, to do that is to access and utilize all available support and resources. I keep mentioning the likes of Semta, but there's a wave of government-funded support out there. Again, a lot of the barriers are about making time, but if you invest that initial time, you will reap the rewards tenfold.
Today's webinar is part of a series of webinars being run on behalf of a project which we're running with Northamptonshire Enterprise Partnership, a supply chain mentoring program for companies in the high performance technology sector, both in Northamptonshire and the surrounding counties. The aim of that is to share experience and knowledge from within the industry with other companies within the supply chains in the industry so that we can help improve performance through good practice sharing. I'm delighted, as I say, to have Jason with me. Jason I've worked with for the past 3 years. Jason started off at Martin Manufacturing 14 years ago as a production operative and has risen through the ranks in the last 14 years to become the most senior manager in the organisation. And they've, as I'm sure you'll see in a few moments' time, undertaken some fantastic activities and really improved their performance continually over the last 3 years and made some really significant improvements. So I'll welcome Jason in a few moments' time. Just in the first case, though, I want to make sure that we are all okay with what's happening on this webinar, because I don't know how many other people have participated in these before. We will talk for about half an hour. There will be opportunity for questions at the end. What anyone can do to ask a question is, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a chat box, and anyone can type in there at any stage with a question or a comment, and we'll look to answer those at the end of the session. So that's the way that it will work. We should be done round about about 22 quarter to 3. And as I say, I want to really introduce you now to Jason, who's got a spectacular story to tell. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the session. Here's Jason.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us in the case study that I'm going to present, which is improving business performance. I would like to introduce you firstly to our company, which is Martin Manufacturing UK. We're located in Louth, Lincolnshire, and we predominantly manufacture special effects equipment for the entertainment and security industries. We've been established for 30 years, and Danish outfit. They manufacture intelligent lighting systems, and subsequently they carried on the GEM name as a brand. So hopefully you can see from the pictures, we have a varied product range from atmospheric effects to security smoke products that are installed in places like Carphone Warehouse, Esso Garages and Barclays Banks. What you can see in front of you is a little bit of our timeline, our history. We decided to make this evolution wall as part of the 30-year anniversary last year, where you can see some key milestones on the bottom and also all our product development. So as a company, we research, develop, manufacture and sell the special effect equipment that I've mentioned. And we have some real core competencies. First one is our foundry and the heat exchanger department, where we make the gravity die cast heat exchangers. We also have an in-house fluid production, along with final test, assembly, sub-assembly and printed circuit boards. Lastly, in 2009, we diversified and we entered the service arena, where we've started providing 24-hour support around the world, predominantly in the UK, but also the EMEA region. And we've been able to grow the service department from a 1-person to a 7-man operation. And that's also contributed to the results that we're going to see. Now, I know you're all interested, and the reason for you joining is to hear about how we have improved our business. So I just want to explain where we are now. Last year, 2014, was our greatest year ever, and we achieved over a 5 million turnover. From the graphical data that you can see, that was our best year ever, and it was 11% growth on through OEM customers and new product development. More importantly for us, we've been able to turn the performance of our profitability around from what you can see in 2008, 2009, 2010 were very, very poor years. However, I'm happy to be included in this webinar because we've been able to, year on year for the last 3 years, improve our profitability. Last year we had an increase of 45% of our best year ever. And now I'm going to explain, hopefully, some of the key reasons why we was able to turn this company's performance around. As the saying goes, a goal without a plan is just a wish. The first part of the turnaround that we've been able to create is by coming up with a solid vision for our company. So the first part of the turnaround was to make this plan. So what we did over a period of 6 months was work with the senior management team, but also the entire organisation in setting a key vision and mission of where we want to be in the future. So we actually had several drafts, and the whole organisation of 50 people were included in creating this vision. And our vision was to be the first choice and professional choice in all smoke solutions. And we was going to do this by providing quality solutions, innovative solutions, by keeping the customer at the forefront of all we do. What you can hopefully see there is we set an objective up, and the objective was to grow the company from 4 million to 6.6 million by the end of our financial year 2016. So we're actually on target. We have then decided to focus into 5 key strategic value and then cutting edge. So I'm going to walk through each of those strategic drivers. From those strategic drivers, you can see that we identified some focus areas. So if we take the top strategic driver, operational excellence, there's 5 key focus areas which we decided we needed to look at. Each of those focus areas has 5 tangible actions that people were given responsibility for. So at the end of this process, we had a very comprehensive blueprint of activities that we needed to do over the coming period to reach our objectives. Initially, this was seen as a huge undertaking, but we took a full day out to actually explain and include our entire workforce in this strategy. And what that meant is this change from being a poster in our organisation to actually a blueprint of activities of what we needed to do. In the bottom left-hand side, you can see I added an employee pledge. And at the end of the presentation of this strategy, each and every employee signed their commitment to this strategic plan, which was named Securing Our Future by Making Tomorrow Better Than Today. And obviously that started us off on this continuous improvement journey. However, the biggest thing that I've seen over the years of working for several other general managers is that strategies come and go, so do directions. So the key thing for me was to implement this strategic plan and measure the deployment of this plan. So what you can see is the current state in the journey of strategic deployment. As you can see at the moment, 49% of the 125 actions have been fully implemented. 46% of those are in progress, with 5% not yet implemented. So obviously what we can see is the areas where we're performing well and it's fully implemented get a green. Those areas that maybe are anchored in certain departments but not all departments will be in progress. And those actions that have not yet been put in progress obviously are still at a not implemented state. So really one of the key things is actually not just having a glossy poster on the wall, it's about having a living, breathing strategy. And this is actually the 4th edition of this strategy, because as with the business demands and changes within the business, that needs to be reflected in the strategic planning.